So today I'm joined by Arnaldo, and I actually got to ask you. I've noticed people sometimes call you Arnie. Do you prefer that, or
I have no preference. Arnie was just easier for people to pronounce. A lot of people struggle
yeah,
with Arnaldo, so I'm good either way. Whatever makes it easiest, I guess,
yeah,
overall.
yeah? I've always called you Arnaldo, and then I realized sometimes I've seen people call you Arnie. So I was like, I don't know if that's a preference or not.
You got it down. That's the main thing. I just don't want people to struggle with the name. I rather you call
Yeah,
me Arnie versus Arnaldo if it's going to be a struggle.
hmm,
That's basically it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I get it. And you are located in the United States. We won't say exactly where you're at, and I'm here in Canada, so it's a Canadian and an American having a conversation. We're going
Copy.
to talk about life, culture, the things people often misunderstand about our countries, and whatever other topics we touch. And again, thank you so much for joining me. I know I kind of threw this on you a few weeks ago, and you're like, yeah, of course, I'll join. But you seemed pretty interested in it. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely no. Thanks for the invite. Always open to discussing any type of topics like this. Yeah, fascinated by it.
Awesome. Yeah, me too. Me too, big time. So I suppose the first question I want to ask you is, can you just tell us a bit about where you're from and what your everyday life looks like?
Yeah, definitely. So, like you mentioned, I am here in the U.S. We don't have to get too detailed, but I mean, state-wise at least. I am currently now in Delaware, which is like on the East Coast.
Mhm.
And before that, I was over in California.
Yeah.
And it's a little surprising, but I mean, I feel like I've traveled a lot throughout the US. I feel like everything's very different from one state to another. But
Yeah.
weirdly, like here, at least in the area that I'm in within Delaware, feels a lot like California. So it feels like you just took like a little piece of California and put it on the East Coast, which is weird to say, but it really
Yeah.
does.
Minus the weather, of course.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, it's very hard to compare to California on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I've never been there, but one day. I've
Yeah.
only been to Maine, to Portland and Bar Harbor. I used
Mm,
to work on the boat here that leaves from my town and goes over to Portland at Bar Harbor. I think it still goes to both places. And it would just like a ferry that would come back and forth. So
oh, it's
I kind
awesome.
of lived in the US a little bit
Yeah, yeah, that's
back
cool.
how it was managed before. It was week on, week off. So we had a house in Bar Harbor and an apartment in Portland. So that was a pretty cool experience. First time I've
Wow.
really directly met Americans, and it was cool.
Were you close enough in the region where you felt like the culture was the same? Like you kind of got into Maine and a lot of things felt like being in Nova Scotia? Because they're kind of a little more secluded away from the rest of
Yeah.
the US too.
Yeah. Yeah. It did seem, I mean, Portland was a bigger area. Bar
Hmm.
Harbor was more of like a small town.
Okay.
That definitely felt a lot more like Nova Scotia, kind of
Mm.
looked like Nova Scotia, like it just kind of had that home feel to us. But yeah, definitely in Portland, it was more of like a city and
Yeah.
taller buildings and whatnot. So kind of, I guess, a little similar to Halifax.
Okay.
But I don't know. I didn't spend too much time as much time in Portland. I didn't explore as much as I got to in Bar Harbor, but
Yeah.
it was a really cool experience.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, what do you think something about your area is something that people outside of the US may completely misunderstand?
That is a good question. I'm very new to Delaware, so I try not to speak too much on everything that happens here. But like I
Yeah.
said, it feels like a lot like things felt back in California. I think something, I don't know how much it's understood, at least outside of the US, but California itself feels like its own
Mhm.
country. Like,
Yeah.
even though we are obviously in the US, like we set a lot of the standard for a lot of things. Like, I don't know, even when it comes to like environmental things, like California passes its own laws and then eventually like the
Mhm.
rest of the country follows because there's such
Yeah.
a heavy weight to when California sets something. Yeah, same thing with like education stuff, they started here
Yeah.
and then from there it moves forward. But even when you're like in California, it feels like you're in another country compared to a lot of other states just because a lot of the mentality here is very different. And then I actually know a lot of people that never even left California. Like, there's so much to do within the state. Like, you can just
Yeah.
stay in California and not leave for anything and still have like this crazy experience of a
Yeah.
lifetime in general. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's so many different cultures in California too. I mean,
Yeah.
across the US, I know there's a lot of different areas and stuff, but I feel like California is probably a really good mix of many different cultures there, and with their own unique twists, I guess,
Yeah.
their foods, their hobbies, everything just brought into California. so everybody else can enjoy it.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, California alone, I don't know if you know, is like 20% of the country overall population-wise, which is insane. Like out of one state to
Yeah.
have 20% of the population when there's 50 different states. And then even
Yeah.
geographically, like that doesn't even make up, I don't even think 10% of the country. So it's insane to see how many people are stuffed there. And yeah, if you go down to like Los Angeles, it's very different than if you're up in San Francisco, which is like very different if you're up in like the Sacramento area. Like it's all, yeah, very different
Yeah.
and a very unique experience for sure.
Yeah. I would love to go there someday. I know California is one of the places I've been most interested in going to visit in the US, but I don't know when that'll ever happen, but it's definitely
Yeah.
my top place I would love to visit there. I know a lot of people like to go to Florida and whatnot, but I think California just, I don't know, maybe just being outside of the US, California always seems to be in the movies. And I mean, that's where a lot of the movies are made too. So
Yeah.
I think it would be a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, it's amazing. And just going back to, yeah, like people, what people might not know, not only, yeah, is everything like different from region to region within California, but just being in California is very different, like from the country overall, the rest of the US, like, yeah, weather-wise, time-wise, like culture-wise.
Yeah.
Like, being on the East Coast here, one thing I've noticed is you feel the seasons very heavily. Like, you're getting snow, it's heavy snow every once in a while. In the
Yeah.
summer, you're getting, like, really hot and humid. But back in California, it's like, sure, it, like, varies, but overall, it's very consistent, especially, like, the humidity. Like, that was very new to me
Yeah.
being out
Yeah.
here. Like, obviously, I've
Probably
been in
very
it.
dry heat up there.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot more dry heat for California for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're very spoiled, let's just say that.
Yeah. I know we get a lot of the same weather here in Nova Scotia that Delaware gets. I think Delaware
Mhm.
usually gets it first, and then it, like, makes its way our way, and it's the same here. It's humid in the summer is insane.
Yeah.
My hair, like, by the end of the day, my hair will just be huge because it's just so humid. There's no point in even trying with my hair when it gets like that in the summer. So, you can talk about Delaware or California. Were you born and raised in California?
Yeah. Up
Yeah.
until moving here, I've always been in California.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So if you feel more comfortable talking about California, that's awesome because I think California is quite interesting. So what's the daily life like in California? Like it's your day to day, like your commute, like I live in a very small town, so it takes me like 6 minutes to drive to my office and it's just you can get everywheres within like 5, 10 minutes pretty much. Is it like that in California? Is there a lot more travel you find?
Yeah, no, I mean, it depends obviously, like I was saying, where you are. I'm from the
Yeah.
San Francisco Bay Area, is where I was at, which is a very metropolis um,
Yeah.
area, super populated, a ton of traffic for sure. If you're moving between
Yeah.
cities, nothing like Los Angeles, but still like pretty up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the 9 to 5, like, in the mornings, you're, like, hitting heavy traffic on the way to work, evening, same
Yeah.
thing on the way home. So it's I wish I had something short, even, like, compared to what I do now. Like, now I have, like, this 15-minute drive, which was only possible when I worked right next to where I did when I was back in California, you know? Like, I've had
Yeah.
moments where it's really nice like that, but not always, and most people aren't in that situation. And, the crazy thing too is just in the area that I was in, because, like, Silicon Valley and all that, um,
Me
it's also like a very deep divide between the way everybody lives. Like there is basically, I don't know how to the best way to say it, but it's like a very clear cut line between the different, I don't know, I
Yeah.
guess classes. Like you can clearly see like areas where you're in and it's like for sure like this is poverty level, and very struggling.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen it. There's always all those videos about like the homelessness in California and stuff too,
Yeah.
people creating these camps where they're
I've seen
living in. Yeah. So it's like also the day to day is very different depending on who you are amongst those classes. Me as more of a middle class, I'm probably more of like, shoot, I don't even know if it is the majority nowadays, but what I would think is still the majority of people live in middle
Yeah.
class. So you are just getting up, going to work most days. The pandemic kind of changed that a little bit where a lot of us are working more from home,
Yeah.
but still like you're most of the time 9 to 5 working in the office,
Yeah.
and that's more of what my day to day was. Yeah, very kind of corporate now, what you see on TV that, yeah, 9 to 5, go to the office, go home, then real life starts when the office job ends, type of thing.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of the same, I guess, here class wise. Like, I mean, in a small town, it's more so middle class, lower class. For families, we do have our wealthy families around here, of course, but
Mm.
the closer you get to the city, like Halifax, that's about 3 hours away from us. And they do have like more noticeable homeless areas, like where there's like tents and little camps set up.
Mhm.
I know we have homeless people around here. I know a gentleman used to camp out in the woods a little bit, and there was a group around here that did help him out a little bit. And it's easier to do that in a small town where when there isn't as much of a homeless community. But when you get to the bigger cities, that's when you start seeing the reality of it, that it's a very real thing for many people. And I don't know really what can be done to help, but
Yeah.
it's that's something common that we have here across
Yeah.
Canada too, or something similar, I should say. Like
Yeah.
you see it in the US, it happens in Canada here too. And no matter where it is, it's a shame. It's very sad to see.
Yeah, definitely. I think being in a more of a bigger city type area, it is kind of, I don't know, more shocking is kind of the word. It's like just the difference you see. Because yeah, you
Yeah.
could be driving by, like I said, a homeless camp, and then 2 seconds later, you're like in a very rich neighborhood where houses are worth 2, 3 million on
Millions.
average.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And even beyond that in certain places. But yeah, so it's just really crazy to see.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what is something that you're proud about with your community?
I think something I do appreciate, in at least in California overall,
Hmm.
we're so far, what's the right word here? I guess like progressive compared to a lot of other areas that you have people
Yeah.
arguing about like what's the right way to be progressive very often, and that does bring me some joy. Obviously, there's still like a lot that needs to be decided. Like we said, it's a ton of homeless encampments and stuff like that, and still trying to figure
Yeah.
that out. But the fact that people are like arguing about how is the best way to help them and doing a lot of the things that they can be done, at least
Yeah.
trying things out is something I do very much appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So do you find like with California, it'll be like the first state to make some changes and a lot of people don't really like it. They think it's a bad move and then all of a sudden they're adopting those changes as well because it ends up working and functioning how they figured it would type thing.
Yeah, very often. And even if things
Yeah.
don't work out, like I feel like it's a big enough economy that you see the changes really ripple through that not only will it affect us, it'll affect other people around us, like the states around us and
Yeah.
everything, to
Yeah.
the point where, yeah, like if they set their mind to something, it does carry a lot of weight. And I do like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I know I see a lot online. I follow a lot of different pages on or different platforms. I follow a lot of different creators from Canada, America, UK, like people all over the world. So I kind of get a little bit of an understanding of what different places are like um,
Mhm.
around. And California is a place that I find lands on. I don't know if it's the algorithm or what, but California is one place that shows up for me a lot
Yeah.
online.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with just, I guess, the celebrity power overall in California. Um, Yeah, like you just have so many famous people and like even rich type Elon Musk type people that live out there that have a lot of
Yeah,
weight. So yeah, whenever they post something, it carries further a lot more than, yeah, somebody living in like a smaller state
yeah,
out here.
yeah, absolutely. Did you see celebrities a lot? Like, was it like a common thing to just see celebrities walking around, or is it?
I was gonna say it's not as much up where I was. Definitely if you're down in like the Los Angeles area,
Yeah,
that's like, I kind of feel like at least the people are more down that way.
hmm,
Where I was, it's more like the tech field. So if you're in that industry, you do see like a lot of the big heads from that,
yeah,
especially if you're around like the Palo Alto, Stanford area. Like you see a lot of
yeah.
that, uh,
That's pretty cool.
but not so much like the movie star type celebrities. Those
Yeah,
definitely more in Los Angeles, but it is pretty common out there to see them. Like obviously they go to like restaurants and go out to events and stuff like that. So whenever you go to like anything like that in Los Angeles, you're like very likely to like maybe run into somebody somewhere.
yeah.
There's even now, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Erewhon, this
I
grocery store.
think yes, yeah.
Yeah, so it's
The
basically
most
like,
expensive one.
yes, exactly. I was gonna say it's like this grocery store that like rich people created for rich people to hang out and go shopping in together. It's become more of a
Take
tourist
videos.
attraction now. Yeah, exactly. It's become a little bit of a tourist attraction now, where it's like people are like that aren't in those tax brackets are going in just to like see and buy and just say they've been there type of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, like if you go to especially more places like that, you're like more likely to run into people like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen some videos of different celebrities. Some I didn't really know, like some just like TikTok creators that have
Yeah.
like millions of followers I've seen and stuff, but I didn't really know who they were. Just kind of popped up on up.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's just running our lives at this point.
Yeah, for real. Couldn't agree more. Okay, awesome. So for you, what does being American mean to you personally? Like, I know there's a lot of pride typically from the outside looking in. I've always seen that Americans are very proud to be Americans. Like they tend to have the American flags on their homes or show like on their vehicles, or they might wear like an American flag on their clothes type thing. And I've always kind of been curious to dig into that.
Yeah, I guess just the individuality, I think, to me is the most American thing to be, which
Yeah.
is kind of a weird thing to say. Like, what makes us all the same is what makes us all different.
Yep.
Yeah,
Couldn't agree more.
I think a lot of
Yeah.
people that the most people that I know that are like the proud to be like American and all that are all very different people. Like they all act very
Yeah.
different. They're from different backgrounds, things like that. And I think the ability to be here and be different and still be fine is probably what's the most American thing you can be to me.
Yeah. Yep. I love that. I couldn't agree more. I think again, from the outside looking in, there's just so many different cultures there, and for
Mhm.
the most part it seems like people can be who they want to be. I mean, there's always going to
Mm.
be some hate and discrimination and
Yeah.
racism and whatnot. That's unfortunately everywhere's, but just it always seems like there's just always been multiple different cultures all throughout America, and it's always been nice to see. And Canada hasn't always been multicultural. Like it is multicultural here,
Mm.
but lately there's a lot more immigration. And I think it's a shock to some Canadians to see so many different cultures coming in. And
Yeah.
especially in small towns like here, like we have our white, black, indigenous, like, and we have, like, I mean, I've grown up with people that are, well, at least their parents are from India,
Mm.
but it's not so much where you see somebody that's from India on every corner, every store that you go to type thing. But lately there's been a lot more immigration into Canada. And there's a lot of, I think, some shock to some Canadians. I
Yeah.
enjoy seeing it myself. I've always been interested in different cultures, like, and I grew up between here and British Columbia. So when I moved to British Columbia as a child, it was already like that in British Columbia. There were many, many families from India and different countries. But for me, my friends from different countries were from India or just right here in Canada. And it just really piqued my interest in different cultures,
Mhm.
like just coming from a small town where you don't really see anybody that's from India. And then I go play over with my friends and I meet them and their father's wearing a turban and their mother's wearing her beautiful, I'm not 100% sure what they're called, but I just was so interested in it. And I was just so, and I don't know, I think ever since then, I've just had such an interest in different cultures because just, I was probably 6 or 7 years old. And then again, I lived, the last time I lived there was in grade six, I think. And each time I had friends from different cultures and backgrounds and got to know their parents and their siblings and then come back to Nova Scotia and 20, 30. Well, I'll age myself a little bit here, but 30, 30 years later, um, it seems like a lot of people are really, some are really upset about people. Like I've seen people call it like Can India and stuff like that because they're just not in a small town like this. You're not used to seeing different cultures as much outside of your
Yeah.
typical like white, black, indigenous, and not much else outside of that. And we've had a lot of people from Mexico around here, Philippines, like India, and it's just such a great, I'm not sure what the proper word is. It's just a great mix
Yeah.
of different cultures coming here. And I personally find it's beautiful, but there's a lot of hate I find showing up in Canada lately. I know there's been a lot going on in the US as well, but it's starting to happen here too. Like there's a lot of racism building up, I've noticed. A lot of people that are just really, really, really rude to immigrants. And instead of being upset with the government, if you feel like they're letting in too many immigrants, because I mean, we do have a housing shortage as well, which I understand people being upset that it's hard to find a place to live. If you need to move out of your apartment, it's very stressful. You can't find an apartment just like that. Like back when I first got an apartment, I'd be able to go look at 5, 6 apartments and decide which one I like the most. And now you're kind of left to just pick whatever's available, even if it's
Yeah.
a dump or and whatnot. So I get people's frustrations with the housing part, but I don't understand the being mean to immigrants and making them feel unwelcome and just I just couldn't imagine how they feel when they go to a store and they get the stares and the rude comments and whatnot. And that's a big reason why I wanted to start this podcast to talk to people from different cultures, different backgrounds. I'd love to get people here from the LGBTQ plus community, like everything, because there's just so much hate spreading all over the place. And I know there's a lot of political creators out there. I'm personally into politics myself. I learn a lot, but I don't want to use this platform to talk about politicians directly. I mean,
Yeah.
when you're talking about like racism and cultures and whatnot, I mean, some people might say, well, you're being political, but I don't think those things should be political, but it is political
Yeah.
now because there's just such a drive between like a wedge between people now. Either you hate or you love, and it feels like there's like no in between now.
Yeah.
And sorry, my throat's getting scratchy. But I do wish that people could be more welcoming around because you would really get to see the beauty in all of these different cultures and build friendships. And just because somebody's from India or Mexico or wherever, it doesn't mean that they're a bad person because a group of people from there are bad people. Like I work with a lot of people from different backgrounds, and I mean, I find everybody's pretty much just like me. Personalities are quite similar, professional, all of the above. So I kind of want to give a platform to show people like the human side of everybody across all of our borders. I think it's I personally think it's an important conversation to have to start getting people out of this bubble of hate and discrimination and focus on actual important issues, not the color of
Yeah.
somebody's skin or who they're married to type thing. What are your thoughts on those things? Like people might really disagree with what I have to say and people really might be on the same page. However you feel, don't be shy.
Yeah, no. No, shy is not a way I would describe myself. No, I mean, being, yeah, in California, it's actually very multicultural, and it's always been, as far as I remember, from being a kid. Like growing up in school, I had a ton of friends from all different backgrounds for sure.
Hmm.
And then I've
Yep.
moved around all over the different areas, so you get a little bit more of a heavy demographic depending on where you are exactly, but it's always very diverse overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's easy to see the benefits once it's been established for a while. Like even like the simplest thing, the easiest in I feel like for people to be able to appreciate more of the multiculture is like the food. So like just anywhere you are out there, you
Yeah.
can find like really good food from basically anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Like yeah, there's a ton of obviously you have like good Mexican, good Italian, good soul food, whatever. But you could also find like
Yeah.
Indian spots, good Pakistani spots, good like Ethiopian places. So just that's like an easy in just to be like, obviously we wouldn't have this if we didn't have that type of diversity. But even beyond that, there's like I feel a lot of benefit to having people from different areas that think differently. So specifically there in like the Silicon Valley, a lot of the businesses that are started that end up blowing up are from people that are like immigrants from different areas because they come in and
Hmm.
they see things the way either maybe we're doing it and they see how they were doing it there and how it can be improved. And you're not going to get that if
Yeah.
everyone's just consistently growing up in the same thing, in the same environment.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Yep. I couldn't agree more. I think it's really good to get different thoughts and perspectives
Mhm.
because things grow a lot faster that way.
Yeah,
I
100%.
mean, myself working with people from all over the place, you see the people that are up developing all the different software and different tools, state of the art tools and whatnot for businesses to use. It's very diverse. And
Yeah,
they come together and they put their backgrounds and their expertise and their schooling and everything that they know, they put their brains together and then they build the state of the art equipment.
yeah,
And
exactly.
otherwise, it might not happen. You
Hmm.
might not get the end goal that, or not, might not get to the end goal, might not develop such a state of the art tool if you don't have all of these different backgrounds and different levels of experience as well. Like if it's You might have a young guy fresh out of school, you might have an older guy that's been in the industry his whole entire life, and I think things work better when there's diversity. I didn't really want to touch on DEI too much because I know it can be a sensitive topic for some, but I'm all for it. Uh, and I think that goes to what you were saying. It's important for things to grow and develop. You need the diversity. You need the different visions. You need the different perspectives. It's better for our communities. It's better for progress. It's better for everything, I believe, when there's more diversity involved.
I totally agree. Like I said, it's easier to speak when you're coming from an area that's already gone through a lot of that and
Yeah.
is very integrated, has all these cultures integrated already. So you see the benefits of the diversity a little bit
Yeah.
quicker. I think for me personally, it feels like everyone's kind of getting pushed into more of like going after each other versus like what the real root of a lot of this is, and
Yeah.
this that being more like the greed of like the rich at the top, not to sound all
Yeah.
Marxist over here, but yeah, like I do see that a lot, and I feel like I don't understand why the focus is on trying to stop that diversity. Like you said, like even looking at just like housing, so
Yeah.
like seeing how much housing has gone up, how much like your regular bills from day to day go up, and how
Yeah.
easily like you can see also these people are like insanely rich on the other end too. Like there's richer people than we've had in generations. Like we were at the point of where we were turning away from having these crazy DuPont,
Wage
Rockefeller type
gaps,
rich
like,
people. Yeah, we were actually
yeah.
closing that for a while, and now we're right back
Yeah.
to reopening everything.
The wage gap is insane.
Yeah, like extremely insane. And it has nothing
Yeah.
to do with the diversity. Like that's literally the higher class creating these rules to push that down. And people are focused instead on this other thing, which is like very minimally affecting that.
Yeah, 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 that's something that I've said multiple times, like, I see people, I'll say hooting and hollering about seeing so many different immigrants around Canada, and they'll go on about how upset they were about seeing a gay couple out in public and this and that, and I'm just like, there's so much more going on in our world right now. I could not imagine walking down the street and being like, "Oh my god, it's a gay couple," like, a
Yeah.
man is holding hands with a man, like, there's too much on my plate to even think about caring about that, and there's way too many problems in this world, and I think the division was created at the top
Mm,
on the way down all the way down, because, I mean, if we're all divided, we're not paying as much attention to what's actually going on, and I think a lot of people are starting to learn that. I've
yeah.
noticed some people from my area that's really into politics starting to, I'll say, wake up to that.
Yeah.
It's been very fabricated. Propaganda
Hmm.
is just full tilt now, and there's billions of dollars that go into propaganda to make you believe what they want you to believe, basically. And the
Absolutely.
algorithms, I hate algorithms. I hate them because you see some people will see all of the, like, there's a few different quote unquote media platforms here in Canada that are extremely right leaning, and I mean, some things that they say, like, they might be true, and I might even agree with a few things that they say, but I find that they're very divisive, and they kind of focus on making people upset rather than bringing people together.
Yeah.
And I think that, personally, I feel like it's just been completely fabricated to be that way.
Hmm.
People will ignore what's actually going on in the world if they're divided and focusing on DEI.
Yeah, definitely. It's easier to look at the things that you see day to day and think that's what's causing the change towards the bad because that's what
Yeah,
we see. I guess, if your neighbors are the ones that are changing and all of a sudden your life is feeling worse, and it's easy to think, well, maybe that's why. Um,
yeah,
especially these laws and all these crazy things happening. You don't really see them. Like a lot of that isn't, yeah, very public of what's going on and all these changes that are happening. So I get how it works and how people can be tricked and
mhm,
all that is just, yeah, it's just very, I don't know, like irritating to see it
it is.
when you see it, especially in person. Like sometimes I'll speak to people and you can feel that that's kind of like the way they're leaning, and it's just like I don't
Yeah.
really want to argue here, but I wish I could just do that whole touch thing. Damn, what movie was that? Where they like touch you and they share all the information, and all of a sudden you
Yeah.
see what I see. Like, I wish I could do something
No,
like that, but yeah,
give him
it's
a little shake.
frustrating. Yeah, exactly.
It
I
is.
just, yeah,
I really do wish people could just stop focusing so much on all of the hate and division. Like I personally don't. I know a lot of like the conservatives in my area, which would be like equivalent to like Republicans in America, and then liberals, which would be like Democrats, and then like independents. I more so look at myself as like an independent. I've always voted for the person I like the most. Like, and I mean, our system is very different, but I feel like people are treating politics as like a sports team these days rather than focusing on what is good for people, and it all comes down to just the division. It's been pushed in our faces since before COVID, and it's only ramped up since COVID, and especially during COVID. I mean, people had nothing to do. A
yeah.
lot of people didn't get to work. Fortunately, I did get to work full time while COVID
Mhm.
was going on, but a lot of people didn't get to work, and they had a lot of time on their hands to just go down these rabbit holes and just start. That's really when I started seeing like so much hate and division here in Canada. Like don't know if I didn't notice it before or what it. I just feel like it's ever since then um, is when you really start seeing people get really rude and ignorant online and just completely blasting their personal opinions on different topics. And I'm just like, when did you become this person? Like, I didn't
Yeah.
think you were like that. I'm kind of disappointed because I don't know. I think the more people are united, the better this world will be. And again, I do see some people starting to wake up to that, but there's still some people that are very stuck and stubborn in these beliefs that they formed over the last like 10 years now. Maybe not 10 years, but
However
definitely
long,
the
yeah.
last 6, 7, 8 years or so. It's just gotten increasingly worse, almost to the point where I don't even recognize some people.
Yeah.
And again, this is why I want to do this. I want to show people. I know a lot of Americans. I know a lot of people from around the world. So I really wanted to get different perspectives on to show that we really are more alike than we're not. We have so many things in common. Like the differences between us is minimal compared to the similarities that we all have with one
Mhm.
another. We're all doing the same thing day in and day out. We're all working. We love our families. We're taking care of our families. We're hanging out with friends. We're being social. Like we go to the movies, we go out to the bars, we all do the same things. There's really nothing different. Just somebody's from a different country. Somebody might have brown skin, black skin. They might be indigenous, and they just it seems like what some might call like the minorities get the most hate. And I don't even mean that based on skin color. I mean even gay, trans, all of the above. Anybody that's a minority is just targeted so much more now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think mentioning COVID's like a good point of where it did feel like a lot of that was turning. Just because for a long time I feel like the internet was like the great equalizer, allowed anyone to be able to speak on anything. But
Yeah.
around COVID, when people were more forced to be online, especially because we were like stuck at home and couldn't go out and do anything for a while.
Yeah.
So even if you weren't like big on social media or stuff like that before then, it kind of forced you to go on there if you wanted any type of interaction with people. And so I feel like that kind of just, yeah, really extremely express laned everything into where we are now.
Yeah.
And yeah, not that I'm saying like the internet is a bad thing overall. I do still think it can be this great equalizer that it was always supposed to be. But we've kind of gotten to the point now where if you have enough money and sway, like you can have the loudest narrative and reach the
Mhm.
most people because of the way everything is set up on
Yeah.
there. Mm, yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
even just social media in general, like I know everybody talks about like moving away from the big ones to take some of that power away from them, but it's like where do you really go where everyone can still be and communicate? Like
Yeah.
that kind of gives certain platforms a ton of power. Like
Yeah.
Meta alone has Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, which are like three of the biggest ones that you can be in. So that just gives
Yeah.
them a ton of power to control narratives in a lot of ways. So it's, yeah, I don't know, better people than me out there looking for solutions, but it's clear to see where the problem is and kind of what
Yeah.
exasperated everything, especially when COVID hit. It was really
Yeah.
easy to just see the trajectory. nothing I would have expected to happen. Like you said, there's people I don't even recognize now because of the way they speak about things.
Yeah. Yeah, same. Yeah, unfortunately, some family, I mean, which I'm very family oriented. I mean, life gets busy when you get older and you have kids, so I don't see my family as much as I would like to, but I
Mhm.
have a lot of cousins. My grandmother had 8 children, and there's, I think, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but there's like between 15 and like 19 of us, like first cousins. And then we all have 2 to 3 children. I think there's only
Wow.
a couple of the cousins that only have one child. The rest of them have two, three, four.
Wow.
I don't think any of them have 5, but yeah, we have a really big family, and so, of course, there's a lot of different views and whatnot between all of us, so we typically don't talk politics too much with one another.
Yeah.
Some I can, but sometimes it's better to agree to disagree and just leave it. Sometimes you're not gonna be able to change everybody's mind, but I
Yeah.
think if more people could start kinda having conversations like this, like, I'm not trying to get some big aha moment on here, some big crazy story. I think it was you that I was talking to that was just like, "Oh, I'm not really sure how much you can get out of me for content," and the purpose isn't so much for just getting some, like, big crazy moments to share and hopefully go viral. Like, I really just wanna start these kinda conversations. I'm sure there's other people doing it, but it's the one thing that I could think of to start trying to do to help bring all of this division down. It's increased and it's leaked into Canada like really, really bad. And it's just really disheartening to see and witness all the time. It's daily that you're seeing these insanely rude, judgmental comments. And before I'd comment and kind of pick a little bit, but you get tired of doing that too because when people are stuck in their ways or kind of stuck in their ways. But I figure, okay, instead of me saying, listen, I know a lot of Americans or I know a lot of this, I know a lot of that, like I can personally say, like, why not bring people on? Like I haven't named any Americans that I know on or Americans or even people from like APAC or EMEA. I haven't like named people when I'm talking about these things, but I figured it might be a good idea to start putting faces to these conversations that just to show we're all alike. We're all so similar and enough with the division, enough with the hate. We need to come together. This is a time in our lives. I think it's more important now for people to come together and show that when there's power to the people, we're not going to let all this hate and division divide all of us anymore. I wish that there was a lot more love and kindness and respect for other people, no matter where they're from, what they look like, what they do in their personal lives. Like it's, unless you're like committing a crime, I won't support that. But I
Yeah.
mean, what you do in your personal time, it's not my business. Who you love, it's not my business. Where you're from, it really doesn't matter. And some way, somehow, they got people so focused off of, or people's focus off of the actual important things in this world. And just everybody's just so full of hate now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I know you know some Canadians. What is your perception on Canada? Like, what do you think about Canada? Like before you met Canadians, even like versus when you finally met Canadians. Like, did you find Canadians were what you thought they were, or was it just completely different?
I don't know. It kind of almost feels like it just solidified all the preconceived notions I had about Canadians and meeting Canadians. Um, no, I'm trying to think of like what I thought before I really met people from out in Canada. I guess a lot of it is from just movies and TVs, whatever little stereotypes popped up here and there about the always being extra nice, saying sorry after every sentence almost type thing. And then you have like the
Yeah.
whole like South Park thing, and how they depict them as well. But overall, I feel like most Canadians I've met and interacted with have actually been pretty nice about everything and always very helpful with
Yeah.
everything. Like
I think
I'm sure.
Canadians are still, for the most part, very united.
Yeah.
I think the division is just starting to grow at like a scary rate to me
Mm.
now that I'm just like, I don't know what little old me can do about it, but I just know people from outside of Canada and I would just really love to start showing what I get to see in people that are not
Yeah.
in Canada and different cultures and whatnot. And I know with Americans that I've met over the last 6 or so years now are very much like Canadians, like I'll say the stereotypes or whatever that you hear about Canadians. Most Americans that I've met are just that as well. Like I find we're all very much alike. You might guys
Mm.
might not say sorry as much as we do, but I find everybody that I've met from America, it's the a lot of kindness and I joke sometimes, I'm just like, "Oh, you got such a Canadian heart," and I see it so much in the Americans that I get to talk to, and I know there's some Canadians that look at America and even some other countries that look at America, and they don't like Americans, and Americans are arrogant and whatnot, and that's stuff that you see on TV. That's not my experience with Americans at all. Like, I've never gotten that vibe from anybody that I've spoken to from America. I mean, I've seen videos of people from America that are very much like that, but sometimes you don't know how people act when they're online, if they're doing it for a show, but
Mm.
knowing people, multiple people from America, I do find they're very, very much like Canadians, of what you would picture Canadians to be. So, and I don't know if that's just because we share borders, like we're so close to one another, like even up in California, like you guys are more West Coast, like maybe not super close to British Columbia or out west. I can't picture on the map right now how close California would be, but we're just so close. I think that we're a lot Americans and Canadians are a lot more alike than people realize they are.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't say like a lot of Californians interact with a lot of Canadians overall, but there's a decent amount of connect between California and what state is right up there? Well, Vancouver, because that's like
Yeah,
right
yep,
above us.
British Columbia.
Richland, okay,
Yeah,
for sure. Because that is like right across the border from Washington there, and people often jump back and forth between Washington and California because those states are very similar in a lot of ways.
yeah,
Like they share a lot of the same industries, a lot of the same culture, so people jump back and forth through those a lot. So most people that I know that have been to Canada, it's been to Vancouver because they've been in Washington. It's a quick little drive up.
yeah.
So there is some interaction there, just not a ton. That's just more the people that, yeah, are more in like the tech industry or have family, stuff like that I know that go up
Mhm.
there a lot for that reason.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, out here more, I feel like you interact more with a lot more Canadian. But then it's more of like the Toronto side of things. Like I've met a couple people here that are from Toronto, and obviously a
Yeah.
lot of people that I know that have gone up there to Canada for anything has been going to Toronto to visit for whatever reason.
Yeah. Oh, it's an awesome place. I used to live 25 minutes. I've lived a whole lot of places.
Yeah.
I've lived in multiple provinces. I've driven across Canada multiple times.
Awesome.
Um, and I would say Toronto is one of my favorite places. I used to live 25 minutes from there. So we
Nice.
used to take the GO train down. I think it's called something different now, maybe, but we
Mhm.
used to hop on the GO train and head down and go to a football game or just walk around and explore and go down to Much Music, which would be like Canada's MTV kind of, and just explore. It's a massive, massive city. It's
Yeah.
I know some people I've heard personally from Americans that they didn't realize that Canada was so big and there was like these big cities. I'm just like Toronto is huge. Like
Yeah.
it's scary huge. Like you could get lost in Toronto and just never be able to find your way back. It's massive there.
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah,
Yeah.
we don't live in igloos here. I do know that.
Yeah, if anything, I was gonna say more recently, I feel like there's a lot more media that's made in Canada, so I'm getting a little bit more of a picture of I guess kind of what
Yeah,
that looks like. Like I said, growing up, it's really just the stuff that's made here, so you get the stereotypes of Canada. But now you have
yeah,
things like Kim's Convenience, which is like Foolie in Toronto.
yeah,
So things like that, where you're just yeah seeing a lot more of like people in Toronto or in Canada
yeah,
overall, and yeah, so it's interesting, very different for sure.
yeah. We have. Have you ever watched the show From?
I don't think.
It's a creepy show. It's a weird one where they kind of like once they pass like they're anybody that's driving down this road and they pass this tree,
Mm.
they basically like I don't know if it's like a portal that they go into, but they just can't ever get out of it and they just end up in this town and there's like these crazy creatures at night. It sounds kind of dumb, but it's actually good. It's pretty decent. That's made in Nova Scotia. That's filmed
Oh,
here in Nova
nice.
Scotia.
Okay.
There's Virgin River is another one that's filmed here in Nova Scotia.
Awesome.
Trailer Park Boys. Have you ever heard of Trailer Park
Yes,
Boys?
definitely. Is that Nova Scotia?
It is. Yep, they're
Wow,
all
I
from
had
Nova
no
Scotia
idea.
here.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I know a
Wow.
bunch of people that's met them, personally know them.
Yeah.
Me and my fiance, well, could call him my husband now. We've been together 12 years. We've just haven't gotten married, so I'll just call him my husband. We went up to Digby for they had a big, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head right now. I'm sleepy, but it was a big motorcycle uh, thing. And Jacob from the Trailer Park Boys was there and he was selling art. And
Wow.
Jordan, my fiance, he's a huge fan. He loves Trailer Park Boys, and he looked over and he's just like, "I think that's Jacob." And I was just like, "Well, let's go over and see." Like, I'm not he's more shy than
Go
I
find
am,
out.
so we went up in his tent and I was just like, "You're Jacob, right?" And he's just like, "Yeah." And he just had a conversation with us, but
Man,
it was that's our one of our local celebrities that I've gotten to see.
that's
Everybody
awesome.
knows who Jacob is.
Yeah.
But yeah, the industry does seem to be picking up here more. Like there's a lot more people.
Mm.
Like there was that the movie The Lighthouse with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe
Yeah,
that
that's
was
right.
filmed here in Yarmouth at our
Oh,
lighthouse.
wow.
They built it wasn't like our lighthouse that they used. They kind of built up behind there, and I think they filmed in, like, our airport here or something, but, yeah,
Wow.
that was filmed here, and it does seem like there's a lot more interest in I mean, Canada, there's many places to film in Canada, of course,
Mhm.
but Nova Scotia's gorgeous. It's so beautiful here, so I definitely understand why there's a lot of attraction. I know Chad Michael Murray lives here. He's
Wow.
in Halifax, I don't know if he, like, permanently moved here, but I know that, like, he was getting very, like, integrated into the community, like, I think he might have been, like, coaching soccer for his kids'
Wow.
team, and you'd see him like, people would see him and his wife just around and mingling and stuff, and filmed I believe it was in Virgin River. It's been a minute since I watched it, but he's in that show, and so I guess we can say that Nova Scotia's a little California now.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I guess that also even feeds into what I was talking about earlier, how like the internet overall makes everything feel so much smaller and equal.
Mhm.
Because yeah, like I said, overall, I feel like I watch more things that are filmed in all kinds of other countries now compared to
Yeah.
before, where you were basically forced to film in California, or else you're not going to have the right equipment or studios or anything to do so. Now
Yep.
you can film anywhere. So yeah, like even going out to Nova Scotia, which before I'm sure was a struggle because it's a little harder to get to, but now it's like easy and sounds like they're
Yep.
doing a lot. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be more, like, with this
Yeah.
just these few TV shows and movies that's been filmed around here. There's definitely a lot to offer, a lot of scenery. And there's been, like, I think there's been a couple little, like, Hallmark movies maybe filmed here before, but, I guess we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, definitely.
Just seeing here, I know I had a couple questions.
Yeah, definitely. We can touch back a little more on that.
Yeah, and I'm scrolling through the questions, and a lot of the questions are things that we've just kind of, like, naturally talked about from other questions, and, like, for social media in America, I'm curious if it's, like, the same, like, it's if you're right wing, you're only really gonna see right wing stuff. If you're more left leaning, you're only really gonna see left leaning stuff, like, even if something is maybe not certainly true that like a Democrat says versus something that's not true that like a Republican might say. Like I find an issue here in Canada is that the people coming out and explaining why something that was said is not true does not reach the right audience. Like it reaches the people that already know this kind of
Yeah.
thing, but it's never going to reach the people that should know this type thing. Like, and do you find that it's the same in America? Like, it almost seems like it's almost pointless to talk about it. And I think that's
Yeah.
a big reason why I really dislike algorithms. The people that need to see certain things are just never going to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I do think that's same here. Basically
Yeah.
across the board, yeah, anyone that I know that is, like, yeah, very left-leaning, like, you're getting all these left-leaning ideas, anyone that's very
Hmm.
right-leaning, you're getting all these right-leaning posts. You have to almost
Yeah.
make a concerted effort to find things that are separate. Like I mentioned, Instagram's, like, the main thing that I use for at least communicating with, like, friends and having my stuff go up and so people can see, like, what I've got going on and for me to be able to see what I friends have going on or family.
Hmm.
Instagram's more of that route, but really where I like to spend most of my time is through Reddit.
Yeah.
And that's not as much social media in that way. It's a little more like a mix of like social media slash like bulletin boards, and I feel like that helps
Hmm.
a little with
Yeah.
getting like more of a diversity because at least there you're like picking what you want to follow, but you could also just there's like a specific section where you can say, just show me like what's popular. Like, don't worry about what my algorithm should look like, just
Yeah.
what's like actually going on that's more
Yeah.
popular. So that
Yeah. I
helps a
think
little bit more
that's
that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. I go on Reddit once in a while, not very often at all, but maybe I should start
It's a great
to
place.
see what else. I know there's a lot of a big mixture of different ideas. Like when I do look and I see like the comments, there are a lot of different opinions, and there's a lot of good conversations. I think that I have seen on Reddit. Like sometimes people might really disagree with what the post is, but then there's conversations and they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I get it now." And I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, there was some progress made here." I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, one of my favorite things there is you could have your feed, your algorithm if you want to, but they
Yeah.
make it very prominent, like and easy to get to just that streamlined for everybody, what everybody sees type feed. Which yeah, every once in a while you'll have stuff that breaks through that isn't like whatever the status quo is for my type of algorithm, so it kind of breaks through that
Yeah.
a little bit. And that helps out. And then Reddit's always really great also for finding like very niche communities. So like why you can maybe go on, yeah, like Instagram or Facebook and look for a group
Mhm.
that kind of deals with something like that, and maybe you'll find it, maybe you won't. There's almost for sure like a subreddit for whatever it is that you're looking to get into or talk about. Even sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, like if I just want to look at a different point of view of something, I'll like search about a topic and then I'll put Reddit on it, like on a Google search or whatever, and it'll take me to like a subreddit or a post about that that gets like really
Yeah.
detailed and has people already talking about it. And 90% of
Yeah.
the time, you'll find something already in place.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to look into that more. I've only used it a couple times to just look up specific things, and I think Jordan uses Reddit probably a little bit more than I do, but it might have less bots on there. I think there's bots is a big problem too because
Yeah.
people think that they're I think it was like Nicki Minaj recently. It was discovered that so many of her followers were just like bots and like comments on her posts were majority just bots kind of
Yeah.
thing. And it kind of makes you wonder like what else. I mean, I've always kind of had an idea. I think a lot of people are
Mhm.
really getting used to be like getting more familiar with how to spot bots, but also those things kind of evolve with time too, like with AI and everything. Like they're going to get smarter, they're going to be programmed to be smarter and look less body. So it's like really getting really difficult to tell what's a real person and just a bunch of cell phones and wires on a wall programmed to comment on posts and whatnot. So that's another problem with social media right now is the bots. Um, it's I think the division as well because you'll see bots just commenting a lot of like rude and ignorant things and things that just
Mhm.
simply are not true, and you'll see people commenting and liking, and I'm just like that
Yeah.
kind of seems like a bot to me. I don't think you're talking to a person right now.
Yeah.
But that's just but and it's getting harder and harder to tell. There's really like, how do you teach someone when sometimes you can't even tell yourself if it's a bot or a person type thing? So it's I think that's another problem. There should be something that can stop bot activity. Like, why does it even exist? Like, it's so
Mhm.
stupid to me.
Yeah. No, that's true. I do think that's a lot more common, especially outside of yeah, like maybe not so much on Reddit, but yeah, if you're looking at something like Facebook, Instagram, those probably have crazy number bots commenting and just
Yeah.
trying to rile people up and all that. But another thing that I feel like is an issue, and it's kind of what I was talking about earlier, where like money can pull sway and kind of lean conversation certain ways. There's
Yeah.
also like not just the bot farms, but like when they actually use real people, but like in other countries. So you have like these farms of people in, I don't know, let's say North Korea or
Hmm.
I know they use a lot also like in India and things like that, where they're just having people, they give you like what you're basically going to comment and pretend to be in order to push conversations certain ways.
Yeah.
And it's really like no one's actually from there. I don't know if you saw like a while back when Twitter added this feature where it was like, everyone's gonna have listed under where their account info is. Like usually you can see like when they created the account, things like that, under where the handle is. But they are also adding where the account was created.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, so, like, a lot of these people, they're, like, American political commentators were from all around the world, like, from Russia,
Yep,
from
same.
India, from Pakistan, things like that, and it's like
Same with Canada. Like, there's a
yeah.
big separation movement going on in Alberta, which I'm sure you've probably
Mhm.
seen or heard a thing or two about that,
Yeah.
and it those a lot of those accounts came out to be from I think there were some from America, some might have been, I think, from Israel. There were a whole bunch that had, like, some of them, like, thousands to hundreds of thousands of
Mhm.
followers, and then you see that the screenshots of, like, where that account was from, and I'm just like, "They're not even from Canada,
Yeah.
like, why are they"
The whole
like,
"You don't
they
even go
don't
here" type of thing, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, which is insane. So even if you could figure out, like, the bot thing, then we have that to worry about, and it's like, at the end of the day,
yep,
it's like I'm saying, like I said, I don't wanna sound Marxist over here, but that money is difference really makes this huge change, and it's
yeah,
you're right, it feels so hard to fight, like, who am I to even make a change and a difference here? Like, all I can do is at least people that I get to talk to day to day is try to help them see it my way, but it just feels so,
yeah. I
I
know,
don't
I'm
know,
just in a small
impossible.
fishing town in Nova Scotia, like,
Yeah.
I don't think there's too much that I can do, but I can try.
Yeah. No,
If it goes
exactly.
somewheres, it goes somewheres, but I think I'm in a little bit of a unique position for a small town in Nova Scotia where I get to know people from all over the world and get to see and see what a lot of these people are like. And again, I think that most of the people that I know that are not from Canada are so much like Canadians, and it's just kind of like made my beliefs on people coming together rather than being divided even more. Like, there's always going to be, it doesn't matter what side of politics you're on, it doesn't matter what your religion is, there's always going to be the extremists. There's
Yeah.
always going to be. It doesn't matter if if you are Christian, if you're there's always going to be the extremists that really push stuff that's not very good for humanity.
Yeah, absolutely.
They kind of hide under this religion to push their own beliefs, and which I find is a lot of those are disturbing and disgusting, but it doesn't mean that just because somebody is Muslim, it doesn't mean that they're gonna go and blow people up. Like, that's one thing I see all the time that drives me nuts, and I'm just like,
Yeah. Insane.
no, like, they disagree with that too. Just because they're from the same area, just because they follow the same religion, it doesn't mean that they share those beliefs. And I think that's what people really need to understand is that just because there's these extremists in certain countries, they're pretty much the minority. They happen to get in power, but they're the minority. And most people in that country are very much against what these crazy regimes end up doing to countries. Most people from these countries are very, very good people. They just want to live a normal life. They want to live happy with their children, with their families. They
Mhm.
don't believe in all this crazy extremist nightmares that are created from, well, I mean, I was going to say from crazy religious people. Like, I fully respect any religion. Like, I'm not a very religious person myself, but I respect religion. I respect people's beliefs. I respect that everybody's different. I respect that. And I just really wish that more people could just be that way. Like, it's, if you go to church every Sunday, it doesn't matter. I still have a lot of respect. Just because I don't go to church every Sunday, it doesn't mean that I dislike you because you go to church every Sunday, kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I have respect for everybody. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter what your race is, where you're from. I have just as much respect. It's kind of like the saying, like, I respect the janitor as much as I respect the CEO type thing. And that's how I am with people. I don't care where you're from, what your background is. I respect everybody. And we really need to come back to that because I feel like most people used to be like that and it's just not that anymore.
Yeah. It's tough, man. It feels like a losing battle nowadays, but
It really
I
does.
agree.
Well, I suppose I can ask you one final question. I won't keep you much longer. If you could send one message to people listening from different countries, what would it be?
One thing, huh? Man.
Or a
I
mix of
think
things.
um, I would I think the number one thing that I would try to have people see is to look up. Like, most of our problems aren't coming from, like I said, the people beside you. Like, look up the
Hmm.
chain, like, follow the money is always what I always want to say. Like, most of the problems aren't something that anyone around you is creating. It's those above us that are just working to fight against us and
Yeah.
create this division, create this chaos where they can come out on top. And as long as we're fighting against each other, it's no way we're going to unite and fight against them.
Yep. They keep winning. The more divided we are,
Hmm.
the more we hate each other, the more we scream and argue with each other, they just continue winning. And
Absolutely.
we need to start using the power to the people.
Yeah.
It's people, there's so much power in people. And I don't mean go out and have riots and stuff like that. Like, the
Mm.
more people just have different conversations and start loving each other again, they start losing. They can't win when people are united. And we just really need to come together again and put an end to this and stop letting money rule the world.
Yeah, exactly. If I could put in here like that, insert the movie Ant scene where he's explaining to everybody, if they know they can work together, then they know they can stop us.
Yep.
One day it'll click. One day it'll click. I have hope.
Yeah.
It dwindles a little bit every
I
day,
do
but I still
see
have that hope.
Yeah, I do see some people that I really didn't think would ever
Yeah.
budging, and it's makes my heart happy. It makes me smile, and it gives me a little bit of hope. And this
Yeah.
is pretty recent too, like, that I'm seeing some people that were really, really, really firm in some of their beliefs and whatnot that are starting to realize, like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be this angry over things like this anymore because it's really not a problem.
Yeah.
The
That's
problem is not there. It's just the problem is it's very much fabricated, and
yeah.
just keep in mind how much money is put into propaganda,
Mm,
and propaganda is mostly division from what I've seen. So the more people learn that and accept that, I think the better, and hopefully people can start having more conversations around it to spread awareness. I don't know if awareness is the right word, just not trying to push these beliefs down your throat. It's just unfortunately how the world is functioning right now.
absolutely. Well, I'm glad to hear that you've seen some positive changes at least. I don't know if
Yeah,
maybe just my circles aren't big enough to touch a lot of people outside of my type of mentality, but yeah, it's good to hear that some changes feels like it's happening.
yeah. Small town, everybody knows everybody here.
Yeah.
So it's easy to see when there's like a budge or a change in someone's tone and someone's mentality. You start seeing them sharing different things. And I'm just like, "Oh,
That's
some
awesome.
progress. I'm
Yeah,
proud. I'll never I think ego is a really big issue for people to change their minds. And I think
absolutely.
people can, if people could get past their ego and start accepting that this is really the way that the world is, and unfortunately many of us have been fooled from the people higher up, and
Yeah.
if that ego can just get out of the way, I think people can see much more clear.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to, if I start I'm happy when I start seeing people waking up and seeing things for what it really is.
Mm,
It makes me happy. I'm not gonna be the one that's just, "You're not welcome over here.
yeah.
You're a part of the problem." I'm happy to see people start waking up and start realizing what's going on around us, and, I hope more can as well. I see a lot of people that are just like, "Nope, too late. You've
Mm,
done the damage. You helped with the damage," type thing, and I don't think that's right myself. I wouldn't be like that. I understand people like to hold grudges, but
yeah.
one thing I would say is if you do start seeing people changing their minds, and if they post a lot on social media and you start seeing them changing their minds, don't don't give them a hard time about it. Encourage it, and maybe send them a private message and say that you're happy to see it, and so they don't feel like idiots.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, truly, I feel like the hardest thing, you're right, is just admitting you were wrong and admitting you see it different. It's got to be the hardest thing
Different
out of all
perspective
that.
now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And once that ego's out the way, there's a whole new world out there.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's true. I'll keep an eye out for it. And like I said, glad to hear it's
Yeah.
happening somewhere.
Slowly but surely, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so, so much, Arnaldo. I really appreciate your interest
Yeah, of
in
course.
coming on here. And really, I knew that you'd be a good person to come on. I know you're a really smart guy, and
Oh,
I was
thank you.
really excited to hear your perspective, and hopefully people can learn from what you've said on here, because I think a lot of this has been really great. Again, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. No problem. And anytime, I hope it does. Even if it's one person, I hope it does make a little difference here.
Yeah, absolutely. One step at a time.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, you take care, and I'm sure I will talk to you again sometime soon.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds good. All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.